Hi, I'm Jason Warner, Extension Cow-Calf Specialist for Kansas State University and the Department of Animal Sciences and Industry, and would like to talk to you a little bit today about the general idea of sustainability and how that fits in with cow-calf production systems and how we might evaluate it and discuss that as a general idea. And with me today, a colleague, Dr. Logan Thompson, ruminant nutritionist here in the Department of Animal Sciences and Industry at Kansas State. And Logan, as we think about sustainability, that's a pretty broad term, certainly one that is very forefront on the minds of a lot of producers and folks within the industry right now. And there's a lot of different ways that you can look at sustainability and discuss that. But as it comes to maybe some things that we're starting to take a look at now with how we might measure that and evaluate that as it relates to our specific beef production systems, what are some general thoughts there as to how we might approach that?
Yeah, and thanks for having me today. Sustainability it's a bit of a buzzword. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But one thing we like to try to remind people is sustainability is not just environment. Right? A lot of consumers today, when they think sustainability, they think environmental impacts. But we also have economic considerations and other social considerations. Our beef cattle producers, if they're not economically viable, if they're not making money, at the end of the day, then they're not sustainable.
And so certainly when we think about specific to cow-calf production systems, we think about sustainability, production and reproduction as a component of that is certainly part of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best tools, one of the best outcomes a producer can have is a cow that calves every year, right? And when we think sustainability, that's going to check boxes across the board. Having cows that fit your management, fit your landscape, right, and throw a good calf every year that weans a healthy weight for you, right, fits your market. That's going to reduce your environmental impact. It's going to improve your economic outcomes, right, and it's going to keep you around for the long term.
Right, absolutely. So we're seeing a lot of interest in looking at the sustainability of systems all the way through the beef production chain, starting at the cow-calf production level and working all the way through all segments of the industry. So you have quite a bit of background in this area. What are some things, at least from the research side of things, that the community is really starting to look at, some ways we might evaluate that, and how do we quantify it?
Yeah, grazing research, grazing operations they're very complex, as you know, and as our producers know. It's not as easy as in our confinement operations to control what that animal is doing and eating every single day. And so things that we're looking at they have to be very easy to implement for a producer. And when I think of something easy to implement, I think first of all, grazing management plans, right? Do you have one, and what does it look like at the end of the day? Or do you have a long-term planning to maintain a healthy landscape, right? Because when I think how do we reduce emissions, we try to maximize the state of our growing season when we have adequate high quality forage, right? Maintaining an adequate state of regrowth. That'll reduce enteric emissions coming from the reticular rumen of the cow, right? Because it's a higher quality diet, and that enteric methane at the end of the day is just an energetic loss, right? Also, when you're maintaining that regrowth, you're maximizing solar energy is how I view it, coming into your landscape. So you're keeping nutrients flowing, maintaining a healthy soil base. And hopefully something like that will be easy for producers to implement rather than some of these supplements that are going to be more viable on the confined feeding side of things.
Sure, absolutely. And so to that point, when we think about cow-calf production systems, forage-based beef production systems, it really extend beyond the cow-calf level. But why is there an interest in looking at that segment of the industry specifically rather than the other segments of the industry? Is it primarily just because we've got a longer time period where those animals are consuming a lower quality forage base?
When we look at environmental impact, about 70% of our emissions come from the cow-calf sector. And when we think about it, this is a Excel question, right? We do the math. That she's not going to wean one calf per cow every single year, right? And she's on a low quality diet, to your point. So that adds up to a higher overall impact. Plus that cow, if we think about it in simplified terms, she's the factory for everything that happens downstream.
Right.
So there is just that maintenance cost associated with maintaining that cow. So that's why people are focused on the cow-calf sector, is that overall impact.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So really, when we think about just the overall aspect of trying to, if we're going to look at it from the standpoint of controlling and managing emissions, if that is really the if that's really the avenue within sustainability that we look at, the greatest focus within the beef cattle industry, at least currently right now, would be focusing on ways where we can mitigate that at the cow-calf level.
Yeah, that's everybody's goal, is how do we make changes on the cow-calf side. Unfortunately, it's a lot easier to do that work on the feedlot level or the backgrounding yard level, where we can control that diet every single day. And it gets much more challenging when we move out to the cow, because we're supplementing, when we do supplement, maybe 3 days a week, something like that, right? Because it's really unnecessary to give that cow a supplement every single day when she has good forage. That changes how we deliver, you know, a potential mechanism or potential supplement to reduce enteric methane emissions. Makes it much more complex. So ultimately, people want to get there. We're just not quite there yet. That's why we focus on things like how you manage your grazing management plan.
Right.
Maybe even one day just what forages you use on your landscape. Right? Changing that if that fits your overall management. Something easy to adopt.
Right. And really, when you think about it, a lot of these things that we look at and focus on to try to improve both emissions and therefore long-term sustainability, and understanding some of these practices that will have an impact. You know, producers have been, in many cases, they maybe have already been implementing and doing those practices for a long period of time. We're just now starting to understand really the overall impact of those, and it's how do we position those and strategically utilize those within our operations to go forward to make best management practices to improve the situation for all, right?
Absolutely. You know, sustainability is the buzzword of the day, but our cow-calf producers, our soccer producers, those who are out there managing landscapes, managing animals, we have a history and a legacy of being stewards for the environment. Right? Today we call that sustainability, but our producers historically do care about maintaining that resource base because they rely on it to support their family.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you brought up a good point right there. Ultimately, when we boil all this down, does the producer have a cow that fits his environment, fits his operation and his management style? And if he does, he probably has a pretty productive animal and a pretty productive system, right? So how we tweak that changes from place to place, but if that's the outcome, if you matched your cow to what you do and where you are, you're probably improved your overall sustainability.
Right, absolutely. Now, really interesting thoughts and ideas. So when we think about these management practices, things like rotationally grazing or implementing strategic grazing systems, selecting for animals that are the best fit for the environment, that match production with the forage base, of course, trying to increase the percentage of live calves weaned, strategic supplementation, feed technologies, those types of things. Those are really just key fundamental things that, again, looking at how we can try to strategically implement those and what's the response that we get in improving the overall production system. Those are really the things that are all encompassed within this discussion when we think about just sustainability in broad-based terms, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel on the cow-calf side. You know, we're just trying to better quantify how producer management impacts emissions and other sustainability aspects. So we don't have a great way to quantify it historically. So today we're really just trying to figure out, hey, how do your management tools impact, say, methane emissions or impact soil health, right? So working with and through producers, so we're better able to model for future estimates.
Yep.
And make sure that they're getting credit for their historical good management as well.
For additional resources and information on beef cattle production and how sustainability fits within beef cattle production systems, feel free to visit us at ksubeef.org, our main extension beef cattle website. Thank you.